In the summer of 1945, just after the war had ended, Allied soldiers made a startling discovery while exploring the remote, icy waters of Lake Toplitz, a deep alpine lake hidden in the Austrian mountains. There, beneath the surface, they stumbled upon crates filled with perfectly forged British banknotes. The crates had been submerged, their contents untouched by time. It seemed like a bizarre find, but it was no accident. Those crates were part of Adolf Hitler's secret economic sabotage plan during World War II, a plot aimed at destroying Britain's financial system. But why Lake Toplitz? And what drove Hitler to hatch such a plan? To understand the significance of Lake Toplitz, it's important to know how desperate Hitler had become by 1942. He had thrown everything at Britain: bombings, U-boat attacks, and psychological warfare, but none of it was enough to break British morale. So he devised a new kind of war: economic warfare. Instead of dropping bombs, he would flood Britain with fake currency, causing massive inflation and collapsing their economy. Hitler believed this would cripple the British war effort. Lake Toplitz was chosen as the hiding place for the operation's secrets because of its extreme remoteness and inaccessibility. Nestled in the Austrian Alps, surrounded by dense forests and steep cliffs, the lake was deep, dark, and isolated, perfect for concealing the remnants of the plan. The Nazis were known to use lakes in the region to hide weapons, documents, and treasures toward the end of the war. With its treacherous depths and secluded location, Lake Toplitz offered a natural vault for items the Nazis didn't want to fall into Allied hands. But let's rewind a bit to understand how we got to this point. Hitler entrusted the execution of his plan to the SS, a powerful and ruthless paramilitary organization that served as the backbone of his regime. The SS, or Schutzstaffel, originally started as Hitler's personal bodyguard, but evolved into a feared force that handled everything from military operations to the enforcement of Nazi ideology. Led by Heinrich Himmler, the SS grew into a massive organization responsible for intelligence, policing, and running concentration camps. By 1942, it had become the most trusted branch of Hitler's military apparatus. Himmler, ever loyal to Hitler, was tasked with overseeing the plan to destroy Britain's economy. He, in turn, assigned SS officer Bernhard Krüger to lead the mission. Krüger, known for his expertise in covert operations, was put in charge of what became known as Operation Bernhard. His goal was to produce millions of forged British pounds so perfect that they would be impossible to detect, even by experts at the Bank of England. The idea was to destabilize Britain's currency by flooding it with counterfeit notes. But creating fake currency wasn't easy. The Nazis needed skilled workers to pull off this ambitious operation. So they turned to Jewish prisoners, many of whom were specialists in printing, engraving, and finance. These prisoners were brought to Sachsenhausen concentration camp, where they worked under constant threat of death. Their lives depended on producing flawless forgeries. By early 1943, Operation Bernhard was in full swing. The counterfeit notes were of such high quality that even banks in neutral countries like Switzerland were fooled by them. The Nazis' goal was to circulate these forged pounds across Europe, eventually getting them into Britain to wreak economic havoc. But the operation ran into logistical challenges. Smuggling large quantities of fake currency into Britain proved difficult, and the plan to trigger inflation didn't materialize as intended. As the war dragged on and Germany began losing on multiple fronts, the focus shifted away from economic sabotage. By 1944, the Allies were closing in, and Hitler's empire was crumbling. But Operation Bernhard continued in the background, producing fake currency even as the Nazis faced certain defeat. Then came 1945, and with the war all but lost, Hitler ordered the SS to destroy all evidence of the operation. Bernhard Krüger's team began hiding or destroying crates of forged currency, sinking them in lakes or burning them. Lake Toplitz was one of the key locations chosen for this purpose because of its remoteness and its deep waters, which made it the perfect place to dump Nazi secrets. With the Nazis on the run and Hitler's dream of using financial warfare against Britain shattered, the operation came to a quiet end. As the Allies swept through Germany and Austria in the final months of the war, Many of the SS officers involved in Operation Bernhard were captured. The Jewish prisoners who had been forced to work on the operation were liberated, and they told their stories to the world. Stories of survival, secrecy, and an impossible mission to create counterfeit money for the enemy. It was through their testimonies that the true extent of Hitler's plan came to light. But the full story wasn't uncovered until the discovery at Lake Toplitz. When the British banknotes were pulled from the water, it became clear just how close Hitler had come to unleashing economic chaos. Although the plan ultimately failed, the counterfeit currency produced by the operation continued to circulate in Europe for years after the war. Some of the fake notes were so perfect that even after the war ended, they were hard to distinguish from real currency. Operation Bernhard remains one of the most ambitious and secretive projects of the Nazi regime. It was a plot built on desperation, a last-ditch attempt by Hitler to weaken his enemies when traditional warfare couldn't deliver victory. And while it may not have brought Britain to its knees, the discovery at Lake Toplitz serves as a reminder of just how close the world came to a different kind of war. One fought not with bombs, but with forged money and economic sabotage.